Hello, everybody. All right, so for today, we're going to go through pages 19 through 22. I'm going to be doing a couple of questions, so you'll see the word doc if I'm the one doing it. If it says HW, meaning homework, that means you guys are going to be doing it. But we're going to be working off of pages 19 through 22. Notes will be from 19 and 20, so just this page. And then the rest of it will be for you guys to do by yourselves. So a couple of things to look at. You don't have to solve each and every one. Remember back a couple of days ago when we saw the 3 different types of equations or 3 different types of solutions? You have different characteristics. So once you find the characteristics, you might not need to do all of it. So we're going to be learning how to pick and choose when we're solving and when we're actually going through it. All right, so solving linear systems by elimination with plus or minus. So I have 3x minus 4y equals 10 and x plus 4y equals negative 2. So since we are doing elimination, meaning that we are going to be doing this, and we're going to be looking at either getting rid of or eliminating our x's or our y's. Remember, you always have 2 options. You can either eliminate your x or eliminate your y, whichever is easiest. So I'm going to continue to do both of them just like I did in the classroom. So if I wanted to eliminate the x's, 3 and 1, I can't eliminate it just yet. I would have to do something to this x in order to make it so that I can eliminate them. Since this is a 1, I can multiply this entire bottom part by a negative 3. Why a negative? Because this 3 is already positive, so I would have to multiply this by a negative 3 in order to get rid of my x's. So that's option 1. Option 2, we look at our y's. So I have a negative 4y and a positive 4y. That automatically cancels each other out, so we can eliminate those just like that. So that's probably our best bet, is to eliminate those 2 guys. So those guys are gone. All we have to do now is just add going down. So 3 plus this invisible 1, 3 plus 1 is a 4x. 10 minus 2 gives me 8. Divide both by 4. And I get x equals 2. Am I done? No. I have to pick either the top or the bottom to plug it in or substitute it in. So I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to go wee, and I'm going to plug it into this x. I could have plugged it into this one, but that has more stuff and this is a lot easier. So I'm going to actually move that over here. So I'm going to have an x. Instead of an x, I'm going to substitute it in the 2 plus 4 times y, I don't know what y is, equals negative 2. Simplify this. I need to make the y by itself, so subtract 2 from both sides. These guys go away. I'm left with 4y equals, same sign, add and keep. I owe you $2, I owe you another $2, so now I owe you $4. Divide both by 4, and I get y equals negative 1, because 4 goes into 4 one time, and a negative and a positive gives me a negative. All right, so what am I supposed to put in these lines? Well, it's just asking you guys for the x and y values. So the x was 2, the y is a negative 1, so what's my solution going to be? 2, negative 1 as a point. That's it. All right, moving on to question 2. If we look, we could eliminate. I have 2x and 2x, a negative y and a negative y, and a 1 and a 1. But what can you tell me about all of these numbers? They're all the same. So what kind of solution am I going to get if everything was the same? Is it one solution, no solution, or infinitely many? That's right, infinitely many. So what are we going to write here? Since the coefficients of each are the same, I will need to okay, honestly, I don't like this. technically I'm supposed to put a -1 here, or multiply. Multiply, I can't spell today. Multiply, there we go. And then by -1. If I do that, this becomes a negative, that becomes a positive, that becomes a negative. And then I can cancel everything out. However, that's done. We don't have to do any work. We know that these are coinciding systems. So I have infinitely many solutions. All right. And then that's it. So we already know. So if you didn't know how to do this, we can say that, here, let me show you on my paper so that you guys see. So since the coefficient of each are the same, I will need to multiply one of the equations by a -1. So since all the coefficients are the same, we don't have to solve since we know the rules for infinitely many solutions. All right, but technically I would do this as a negative, this as a positive, this as a negative if I multiplied by a -1. And then they all go away. But again, if you know your vocabulary, you need to do less work, or you get to do less work. All right? All right, question 3. What is a solution to this system of equations? So I have two x's. Oh, they're different, and they're different. All right, so we're probably looking at different, like one solution here. So what can I do? So if I look at these and look at my x's, these are both the same. The only thing I'm missing is a negative. So I can either multiply the top by a negative or the bottom by a negative. I probably would multiply the bottom with a negative. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But it's up to you. I think I'm going to do the bottom as a negative. If I look at this, I would have to multiply the top by a 5, and that just makes it, I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by a -1. That means I'm multiplying this guy, and this guy. All it does is this becomes a negative, that becomes a positive, that becomes a negative. So the top stays the same, 2x plus y equals -5. The bottom, -2x, positive 5y equals -13. My x's go away. I don't need them anymore. Y, 1y plus 5y gives me 6y equals a negative and a negative. Again, staying negative because I'm adding them. So I owe you $5. I owe you 13. So now I owe you 18. Divide both by 6. And I get y equals -3. Again, which equation do you want to plug it in? I would probably plug it into the top. So I'm going to substitute this guy in and go wee, and substitute that in. So I get 2x minus 3, because I do have just that y, so I'm just going to put in the -3 equals -5. Then solve. I need to get rid of this -3, so add 3 to both sides. I get 2x, those guys go away, equals, I owe you $5, but I give you 3, so now I only owe you 2. Divide both by 2, and I get x equals -1. So what was my x value? -1. What's my y value? -3. So what's my solution? -1, -3. And then close it. All right? So that's it for this page. We're going to flip over. Now, this is not asking you guys to do anything here. It's just telling you the steps. So don't forget to align them. What does that mean? That means that I need to have my x's in the same spot and my y's in the same spot. Notice this is in slope-intercept form, not in standard form. So I need to move this guy over to the other side. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to add x to both sides. When I do that, I get x plus y equals 4. All I did was move the x over. And since this was a negative, it turns into a positive. The bottom, I didn't do anything with it, so it stays the same. X minus y equals -6. Now I can eliminate. So I already did the alignment, so I don't have to do that anymore. Now I eliminate. Looking at my x's, option 1, I would have to multiply either the top or the bottom by a negative in order to do that. So that's option 1. Option 2, oh look, there are already one positive, one negative, so we're probably going to go with that route. So I'm going to eliminate my y's. I have an x and an x. That means I have two x's. Equals, I have $4. I want to spend 6, so I need $2 more. Divide both by 2, and I get x equals -1. All right, so I'm going to take this -1, and I need to substitute it either into the top or into the bottom. Since this is already solved for y, I probably am going to just pick to substitute it in for that. So I'm going to put y equals negative. Be careful. This already has a negative. So I'm going to put a parentheses and plug in this -1. So there should be two negatives right there. And then add your 4. So a negative and a negative gives me what? When we're multiplying, it gives me a +1 plus 4, so y equals 5. So what was my x value? It was -1. What's my y value? 5. So my point is -1 and 5. All right. So again, that's it, I think, for homework. I think, let me double check. Yes. So let me explain how so notes are done. Here, let me explain the homework. Again, these are not telling you to do anything. It's just what we did. So we aligned them, meaning that we moved the x over. We eliminated our y's, and then we substituted in our x. All right? So you're going to do the same here. You're going to, I'll help you out. This guy needs to go over, so figure out a way to do that. Line it up. Figure out, are you eliminating your x or your y? Once you get your answer, plug it back in, so substitute it back in. And then tell me what your answer is. Since we're looking at this bottom part, since this is blank, the system has blank solutions. This is probably letting you know it's not going to be the same as this, where it's one solution. This is probably going to be no solution or infinitely many, because the wording of it has changed. So be careful. Figure out, is it going to be no solution or infinitely many? All right, so looking over to page 21. Page 21, we're going to do the same. So align it, meaning grab this 2x, move it over. This one, you're going to grab this 3y and move it over. So this one, you have two things to move over. And then you guys can eliminate and substitute. Looking at our wording, we do get a one solution, so that's nice. When I look, oops, sorry, getting confused. Again, looking at our wording, these are already aligned, so we don't have to worry about it. We're going to have a one solution based off of what we have over here. Looking at the next one, again, it is aligned again, so figure out what you need to multiply to get your equations right. Let me give you a hint for this one. This one, I would probably multiply this by 3. So multiply everything by 3 here. And this one, I would probably multiply by a -2. To give you an idea. All right. However, once you do that, look at your wording. Your wording is different. So it's going to be different. And then the back, it's more of the same. All of them are going to be one solution. So figure out what you need to multiply, and I won't help you out with those. All right, awesome, guys. Talk to you later. Again, this is for page 22. So page 22 is all you. All right, bye.